West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Seven a.m. in the Mile High City on this Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. New poll coming out, CBS 4 covering it. Colorado Health Foundation launched the Pulse Poll in 2020 as a way to hear from adults all across Colorado and the issues that are impacting them the most. The latest poll was taken between April 19th and May 18th of 2025. A bipartisan team of researchers talked with 2,333 Coloradans from across the entire state. That's a lot of people to talk to for a poll. One of the key findings in this year's poll is that concern over government jumped to the top of the list. Respondents feel like government is not going to address or ease their other problems, which includes rising prices. Do you blame Democrats? Do you blame Republicans for this? We want to hear from you. Plus, we'll get into the cost of housing, healthcare, and homelessness that they have concerns about as well. Fascinating new poll. Now it's time, though, for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, 61 and sunny in Denver, and gorgeous outside once again. Expecting a high of 95 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story: Colorado Parks and Wildlife Ranger is recovering after being stabbed in what officials now call a targeted attack at Staunton State Park. Jackie Kelly with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office says that the search for the suspect continues.
There's never been a First Amendment.
That is not her. And let me see if I can find it real quick. It happened Tuesday morning near a popular climbing area, prompting a full evacuation and massive manhunt. The suspect is a white male in his 30s, ran into the woods and still on the loose as of last night. Nearby schools were put on lockout and residents asked to shelter in place, but that order has now been lifted. The ranger had surgery and is expected to recover.
That's wild. I mean, Blake, what do you think the over-under is on this guy having been arrested for some other thing, being let out because we have that stupid rule in Colorado that if you're deemed incompetent for trial, we just let you go?
Yes.
What
are
have
the
these
chances?
guys. You have these guys that are like trying to kidnap kids here in the Cherry Creek School District that just got let go. Like,
my God.
do better
Strung
next time.
out on crack or
wild. I mean, the guy looks like a zombie.
Wow.
Right? That guy.
So frightening.
Then you have the dude that killed people in his car, injured his own head, got deemed incompetent and let out. So that whole vehicular manslaughter homicide thing, gone. Now this random dude's running out of the woods with a knife and stabbing people. Like, what? What?
Amazing.
So do you think,
what is that?
So I heard that might be a targeted attack. Like maybe he was aiming for the guy in particular.
Evidently knew the ranger.
Okay.
I mean, that's what it sounds like, but...
Is it a jilted lover type thing?
I don't know.
Or just some crazy guy that got let out on other charges?
If it's targeted, maybe he had a previous issue. There at the park. I don't know, but it's frightening, and that's why when you see people just walking around in parks and parking lots, and the homeless got to have a place to stay. I get it, but we're constantly looking over our shoulder. The tension is there. I have no idea. When you hear stories like this, God only knows. And you have people living on the streets in tents. Yeah, that's safe. Oh man. We'll see what happens. Hopefully they find him. Haven't heard yet. The CBI has issued an alert for a woman.
Can I just back up here real quick?
Yeah.
So we think it was
you can do whatever you want. It's your show.
We think now the police think it's a targeted attack, and they haven't released the guy's name.
Yeah, why isn't his name out there?
Right? They're all looking for him. If they think it was a targeted attack, why wouldn't they say it's Jim Bob Jones McGee?
Yeah.
Sorry, Jim Bob Jones McGee. It's obviously not you.
We know it's a white male in his 30s.
White male, right.
Yeah.
Why couldn't they just say the guy's name?
Yeah, something's
So we
up.
could all help out.
Something's going on here.
Maybe
Yes,
we could steer clear of the dude.
Right.
If we
exactly.
knew who he was.
Or we could go out and hunt him down. How about that? CBI.
Blake the Bounty Hunter. I talk about this all the time. I was a huge fan of Dog the Bounty Hunter and how they just ran out of people.
Yes.
They just started taking people that just didn't even know there was a warrant. Like they're just sitting at a restaurant enjoying a nice little latte with their friends, and Doc comes back in.
That's awesome.
With his spray out and all that
That's
stuff.
awesome.
Get on the ground.
I love it.
I didn't even know I would miss the court date.
I was so excited because I saw Dog the Bounty Hunter one time in Castle Rock.
Yes,
at a convenience store.
Legendary.
Yeah, it's so cool when you see him. But I tell a couple people that, and they're like, "Yeah, I see him almost every day there."
Yeah, he's all around. I ran into him at a Mount Fuji hibachi restaurant.
Exactly. When you told that story, I'm just laughing. I'm like, man, that dude is out there. He doesn't
he's
care. Hard to hide.
Are you kidding
I
me?
love it.
What are you going to do to Dog?
Exactly. I love it.
That guy's a legend. Give him the keys to the city.
Amen. The CBI has issued an alert for a woman who has been out of contact with her family since June. A missing Indigenous person alert was issued for 36-year-old Shonda Ann Cherry on Monday. Cherry is described as 5 feet, 3 inches tall, 145 pounds with brown hair and brown eyes. She is a member of the Lakota Sioux tribe. Anyone with information about Cherry should call the Denver Police Department or 911. 37 corruptocrats who helped jam the Russia lie and helped try and overthrow the government back in 2016 and beyond have had their security clearance revoked. Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard.
If you go to odni.gov, people who say, well, Tulsi, this is just your view or your interpretation. No, it's all in hundreds of pages of documents that I've declassified and released that show point by point exactly what happened through this timeline that showed this very dangerous thing that occurred in the creation of Russiagate, the creation of this manufactured intelligence assessment that essentially had the intent of undermining the voices and votes of the American people who elected Donald Trump.
That's right. Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna introduced a resolution that would extend the federal takeover of D.C. law enforcement with no set end date, saying the president should decide how long that control is needed. And then the chairman of the D.C. Police Union, Greg Pemberton, he says, what a shocker here, D.C. Democrats were hiding the true crime stats.
That's extraordinary. What is the motivation? Why are these commanders or higher-ups arriving on the scene during apprehensions and telling police officers to indicate something other than what actually happened at the scene?
Well, the only explanation could be to keep the crime stats down because politically that's expedient for the police department and elected officials in the district. I mean, let's go back to how we got here, which is that in 2020, the D.C. City Council passed the Comprehensive Policing and Justice Reform Act, which was a sweeping piece of legislation designed to hamstring police officers, to reduce the size, scope, and responsibilities of police officers.
Well, you gotta love that. Just make it just dangerous for everyone. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says that the entire southern border wall is now being painted black. Why? Well, Noem made the announcement on Tuesday and explained when something is painted black, it gets even warmer, making it even harder for people to climb. It gets really hot as the sun beats down. I love it. She said the pace of the painting was about a half a mile a day. So that's interesting. Evidently, Abby Phillip from CNN, she went to Kamala Khan University. She's appalled that European leaders came here to talk peace.
I think it's extraordinary that this is even happening. I mean, think about the fact that you have a phalanx of European leaders getting on planes at a moment's notice to flock to Washington to give Zelensky backup in this meeting with Trump. That's a level of concern that I think some people say hasn't been demonstrated since 9/11. And it reflects a deep worry about Trump's decision-making and his need to be surrounded by a certain point of view in order to come to what they view as the right conclusion. So I think that alone, I mean, says a lot.
What? He's trying to prevent people from getting killed. He's trying to stop death. What? I am so confused. I listened to that 20 times. I still don't know. I don't understand. Dodgers over the Rockies last night, 11-4. First pitch tonight at Coors, 6:40. 60 in Parker, 57 in Golden. 61 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson News Talk, 710 KNUS.
Hot, dry weather here for another couple of days, and as we get into Friday and the weekend, thunderstorm chances go up and temperatures will go down a little. However, it'll be hot and dry with mid-90s today, mid to upper 90s Thursday, nights in the 60s today and Thursday dry, upper 80s Friday, and lower 80s Saturday with thunderstorms returning. Weather, a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist on day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, Colorado's an interesting place to live right now. Randos trying to kidnap your kids while they're playing on the playground. Randos running out of the woods to stab you. People aren't happy. There's a brand new poll out, Colorado Pulse poll. And for the first time in its 6-year history, the number one concern for Coloradans isn't housing and it isn't health care. It isn't even the cost of groceries. It's government and politics. Think about that. 32% of our neighbors say the biggest problem they face is political dysfunction. That's nearly triple last year's number. People are losing faith, not just in politicians, but in the system itself. Now, that doesn't mean that costs aren't crushing families. Nearly 90% of the cost of living is a very serious problem. From housing prices to health care bills to groceries, Coloradans are making painful trade-offs. Some are postponing medical care, others skipping meals, and 7 out of 10 say they are worried they won't be able to live here in the future. It's just so expensive. But here's the interesting twist. Even though people feel politics is broken, many still believe that volunteering and community work can make a difference. So is the problem with government or with us expecting government to solve too much? Let's dig into this. Bill, I read this poll and this headline coming from CBS 4 Colorado run entirely by one party. Republicans down there at the state capitol just raise their hand and say, hey, guys, I don't think this is a good idea. Democrats just march right over them and do whatever they want. Democrats control every single statewide elected office. Democrats control with nearly a supermajority of both the House and the Senate. So can you blame Republicans for this challenge? And is it a localized issue or is it a national issue? So when people say that, well, politics is the problem, government and politics is the problem, are they thinking local or are they thinking national? And then can you combine that to the cost of living problems? So I look at the state of Colorado and I go, well, of course government's not working. Of course everything is expensive. That's what happens when Democrats run your government. And it's not just Colorado. Look at California, look at Oregon, Washington, New York. Look at the major cities, Illinois, Chicago, San Francisco. You know, when you look at Democrat leadership, there's certain hallmarks that seem to always come with their leadership. Government gets bigger and everything gets more expensive. So of course, voters should be frustrated in Colorado. But who do I blame? The voters who put the Democrats in office. This is what you get when Democrats control things. More government, more intervention into your life, and everything's more expensive. By the way, the quality of your services go down as well. So this is what you get when you elect Democrats. Bill, what'd you see out of this poll?
The thing that jumped out on to me was the idea that the political dysfunction ranked higher than issues about affordability and cost of living. I find that incredibly interesting because the political dysfunction doesn't necessarily impact anyone on a day-to-day basis. Because the idea of it being more expensive to fill my gas tank, more expensive for insurance, more expensive to go to the grocery store, more expensive to afford my house, more expensive for property tax, more expensive, all of that, while also not seeing wages rise as well. And I find it interesting that it is the politics behind things that people are most upset about, that it is the dysfunction between both parties. And I didn't talk to you about this beforehand, Jeff, but as a backdrop, and again, I don't want to go in this direction, but as a backdrop, I wanted just to bring back the Democrats that are returning to Texas after their 2-week runaway about gerrymandering. Runaway! And again, but we did gerrymandering in Texas and then gerrymandering in California and gerrymandering. Is this what the people are crying out for? Is this what this is the weird part about it is I heard this phrase in the last 48 hours that kind of stuck with me a little bit. And it was dealing with the gerrymandering. And where I'm going with this is the idea of us being frustrated about the situation inside of our politics, about the hyper-polarization inside of our politics. Is the person I was listening to said what we have to understand inside of gerrymandering is it's no longer the voter choosing the politician, it's the politician choosing their voters. And they said that we would not say and set up a system in which we would say that's the way to do it, is to allow the politicians to choose their voters. But what we're doing is the politicians are allowed to choose their voters, and they get into safe districts, so actually getting stuff done doesn't matter. We are building a system in which government is supposed to be.
Diana DeGette.
Well, in general, there are some
get
really
into office and not do anything.
Yeah, but there's some really safe Republican seats here. I mean, some really safe ones.
Are there?
That are Boebert. I mean, that's fairly safe. Where she is, she went from 34.
She's got a ton of challengers. I don't think it necessarily is safe as to get. Are the challengers Democrats or are they someone else? Oh, no, they're well-funded Democrats, man.
Yeah, but let's see. But how well did it do in the when she was in the fourth and the third? So the idea, we've seen that before, and so there are some that are fairly safe, and there are some in the state legislature that are fairly safe for both sides. But they did that on purpose. And so that's part of it, is when we are racing towards an area and we are endorsing the idea that we need to draw these seats so they are safe for our party, what do we think is going to happen? Because there's no reason to work together. The Democrats here in the state have no reason or motivation to work with the Republicans. They run over the top of them. We talked to, and someone that may join us later on in the week, but talked about we are in a special session and the Democrats are trying to increase funding. Hang on. We are supposed to be in a special session that is supposed to be cutting some of the budget. Yet we've got Democrats looking for increasing funding in certain areas. My takeaway on this one is the polarization of the politics, and I found that shocking simply because it isn't a kitchen table issue. It isn't one of those kitchen table issues they talk about that directly impacts the family's pocketbook or choices. Yet that's what Colorado voters, even though we're such a liberal state, found as the number one problem facing their family right now. I thought that was interesting.
I'm having a hard time, and maybe you can help me here, Bill, thinking of something that the government does that they're doing well. Right? I'm looking at things like roads. I'm looking at things like crime. I'm looking at things like health care. I'm looking at things like prices. I mean, the government is involved everywhere in our lives, in just about every aspect of our lives. And I'm trying to think, maybe you can provide one. Schools, roads, crime, policing, where the state is doing well. Now, I think county-wise, I'm pretty happy and content with the services that are provided at the county. I have some concerns about some of the roads, and some of my neighbors do too, and we send those complaints in. We want to see that change. But I wonder if voters are looking at their lives and looking at things like roads, policing, education, that the government provides these services and going, you're not doing a good job.
Yeah, I think there's some of that. And I think that some of the priority and the polarization is what becomes the important priorities. And some of that we will talk about, later on inside of the show. And some of that is like the idea we spent a lot of time on the show over the transgender rights bill. Now, the percentage of the population that impacts and affects is a vast minority of the overwhelming voters. But that's where the energy and the focus was, and that's where it was spent. And that's somewhat missing the opportunity. However, I would say that if we did have more conservative representation inside there, I have seen when our legislature is run by conservatives, and they do the same virtue type of bills. They do the same thing about who can get married. They do the same thing about what you can call yourself or what bathroom you can use. There are a whole bunch of those social issues that they fight after. And that's where we are, because you can get a whole lot of traction on these social issues, but solving someone's day-to-day issues and making things less expensive and making things more affordable, that's much more difficult. And it also requires a heck of a lot of bridge building and compromise. And neither group necessarily wants to do that in politics. And I would say both locally and nationally, that is a problem. You get more traction by being the pain, by being the squeaky wheel, by being the person that grinds things to a halt, than being the person that goes along. In fact, the person that is looking for solutions many times is derided as the person that is weak, because you're going to do something with those people that are wearing the other jersey? Why would you ever do anything with that? How many times have we seen people here in Colorado who, just because they may express a position or the ability to work across the aisle or try to understand what Democrats are saying, how many times they've been labeled rhino? I mean, that's a thing. All the time you get labeled as a rhino just because you're not pure enough and you can't be part of the party. So that's part of it. That's where I get to the political division, because I don't think that unless we solve and understand that political division, we can't fix the rest of the stuff. I don't think any of the rest of the stuff can get fixed.
I just see it differently, because I see it as the government just can't deliver. It talks all the time about delivering things, services. Let's talk, schools, healthcare, policing, doesn't really deliver. How about building things? And Ezra Klein from New York Times gets into this as well. 16th Street Mall took longer, cost more, created a ton of problems. They can't build high-speed rail. RTD's a mess. whether it tries to build something or provide a service, government doesn't deliver. And I think people are waking up to this. I mean, what has government provided that's gotten cheaper? In anything that the government gets involved with, the price skyrockets.
Well,
healthcare, education, it all gets more expensive. Then they go out there and try to build something, and it gets more expensive, takes forever. I mean, we're at a time like with DIA now and RTD and 16th Street Mall, where anytime any government official gives me a price on the cost of the project, I just automatically in my mind double it. And then when they give me the length of the time it's going to be to deliver that project, I just double it. Government doesn't work. It overpromises, underdelivers, is more expensive, doesn't provide services that meet our needs. And I think that's the root of the problem. Now, you could say this is because it's partisanship and Republicans and Democrats don't work well together, all that stuff. It could be an aspect of it. But I think the real heart of this issue, and I hope that voters wake up to this and stop electing Democrats, which are the big government party, is that government doesn't deliver on what it can promise. What do you think? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Is politics the biggest problem in your life? Is it the cost of living? Which one hits home for you? Should we expect government to fix affordability? Or should communities and individuals step up more? Or what's the number one thing you want Colorado leaders to understand about your daily struggles right now? Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law Text line, 720-819-5115. If you're like me, you know that living in Colorado means dealing with unpredictable weather, hail, snow, heavy winds, you name it, we got it. That's why you need a roofing company you can trust, and that's Colorado's Best Roofing. They're local, family-owned, and have served the Denver area for over 12 years. They understand our unique climate and how to build a roof that lasts. Whether you need a repair after a storm, maybe just a small segment of your roof needs to be fixed, or you need a whole new roof, Colorado's Best Roofing has got you covered. And here's what I really love. They offer a free, no-obligation inspection. They'll come out, take a look, and give you an honest assessment. There's no pressure, no gimmicks, just straight talk from the pros. Plus, they work with your insurance company to make sure you get the coverage you deserve. So don't wait until the next big storm hits. Give Colorado's Best Roofing a call today. That's 303-797-ROOF. 303-797-ROOF. That's 303-797-7663. Or visit them at roofingcolorado.com. 303-797-7663. Or go to roofingcolorado.com. Trust the best, Colorado's Best Roofing. Ooh, the text message is hot on this. Joan from Lakewood saying Trump is delivering. So maybe it's the party leading the government. Love to hear from you. 303-696-1971. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Jeff and Bill Show. A headline coming from CBS News. Coloradans concerned that government is not working for them, according to a Pulse poll. Now, what was wild about this poll, Bill, that was kind of the gut punch for me. Like I know that Democrats are stupid when it comes to their leadership of government. I've fought them for years and years and years down there at the state capitol. I know they can't lead. I know their priorities are wrong. I know they can't guide government well. But what was kind of the gut punch was seeing this. 2 out of 5 respondents to the survey said they experienced financial challenges in the last year due to the rising cost of living. These financial challenges include postponing medical care, postponing dental care, postponing mental health care, having their work hours or wages cut back, skipping meals because they couldn't afford food, and being laid off from their jobs. Now, from my perspective, when you put Democrats into office, your services get worse from the government grows, and everything gets more expensive. That, I believe, is a law of physics when it comes to putting Democrats into office. Now, when you look at the rising cost of living, when you look at all the financial challenges we're facing in the state, where do you put the blame?
Well, see, I disagree with it. It's just every time you get Democrats, things suck. Every time you get Republicans, things are great. Because you talked about things like roads and education, and if that was true, we would see states with the best roads be the red states ranked up top. And then we'd see states with the best education system ranked up top. And that's not what we see. We don't see that as based on the rankings of states that have the highest proportion of people that are well educated. None of that holds true. And inside of the idea of especially the roadways, some states are better at spending. As far as dollars that are spent per capita, there are some states that are very efficient with their roadway spend as far as what they do. Here in Colorado, I think that we are awful at it. I think, and for a variety of reasons. The thing for me is what I saw that part of the poll as well about people that are foregoing medical care and dental care and mental health care. Remember that conversation we have about why we can't and shouldn't ever embrace some sort of a single payer or socialist healthcare system? It's because of the rationing. It's because you don't have it. Well, there's rationing. That's what that is in the poll. That is rationing of healthcare. It is self-rationing, but it still is rationing. It says individuals in Colorado can't afford to go to the doctor, made the choice not to go to the doctor, not to go to the dentist, or not seek mental health care. People ration based on cost. I do it myself. I have a medical problem. I've talked about it before on the show. I don't know if I've talked about it with you, Jeff, but I have a medical problem that is existent for years inside of me. If I am more than 4 hours away from a hospital and this thing goes sideways, I'm dead. No questions asked. I do not have a second chance. Do not pass go. I'm dead. I'm taking an international flight later this year, knowing that if this thing gets loose on that plane, I'm done. I am done. But I'm self-rationing because of the cost. The particular thing that's wrong with me, other people have it, but mine's a little weird. As always, I'm always a little bit weird and a little bit different, and it's more expensive to solve my problem. I've made the choice to do other things. And the doctor said, yeah, you got about an 85% chance of living out just fine. Nothing going to happen with this. Would it be better if we'd go and take care of this medically? Yeah, absolutely. It'd be better. You wouldn't have to worry about it. You wouldn't have to be concerned about certain physical activities and other things that you're doing. I haven't done it. It's been over a decade. I have a ticking time bomb that can go off at any time inside of me. I have personally rationed healthcare because of cost and coverage. It is too expensive for me to outlay the cash to get this thing fixed. And we talk about the dangers inside of socialism and rationing of care, and you'll have to wait in a line. I'll tell you what, if the cost was cheaper, I'd wait in a line. I've waited for a decade plus.
Yeah,
I can still keep going.
So help me understand, are you...
Yeah.
This is what I'm hearing, though. is that, I mean, things are really rough. The cost of living, the cost of health care is terrible in the state of Colorado. To the point where it's personally affecting you, as you just laid out.
Yeah.
So the solution is more government, higher taxes, socialized health care.
No, what I'm pointing out is that the argument against the socialized health care is the constraints and the rationing. Yet, we are saying that with the system we have right now, constraints and rationing.
Yeah, so what do you do, though? I'm asking you for the solution to this issue.
Oh, the solution for me, in all honesty, I would expand single-payer systems. I would expand.
Right, so more government,
Medicare is one
higher taxes.
But Medicare is one of the most popular government programs out there. You talk about what the government does and doesn't do well. The people that have Medicare like it and don't want it taken away. It also seems to deliver medical coverage and care at a much lower price point than what we have in the private insurance market. Now, there are reasons for that, and some of them I don't think are necessarily fair based on competition, but that's how it's delivered. And so that's kind of what I look at, is if you are going to make the argument that we can't have the single-payer system, then you better solve the other problems on the other end. Because right now, we still have all the problems that we have existing theoretically under a single-payer system, yet without the benefits. And that's the issue for me, is that we need to make that type of argument. You need to show me that the private market can be more efficient, that the private market is going to help these people and myself, who are self-rationing.
Well,
there are people that have...
I think it's self-evident. There's not a single thing government does that gets better and cheaper. Not again, one single thing.
I don't know. Again, that seems broad. I'm sure we could find some. I'm not, again, I didn't research or look at prepare to that.
Sure,
but I mean, and it depends on what you talk about as far as better. That's the other question.
Right.
Is
because
that
it eliminates all competition.
Well, no, but it depends on...
like what you said, what it does with Medicare.
Yeah, but here's the idea, though. The people that are under the umbrella of Medicare like what they have. They're not looking for something that is bigger and better, necessarily. They like what is delivered to them. It's a popular government program. And I have a hard time. I mean, again, if we look at the idea, even inside of capitalism, there are things that don't necessarily get cheaper or less expensive. There are certain things based on competition, but we don't have that built into the healthcare system even now, as far as choice and competition. So we don't even have those capitalist structures that would lower prices, etc. We don't have those pressures. So we already have that system in many ways. And what I'm looking at is the solution to do none of it, to not have the government do any of it. I mean, we wouldn't want to. It wouldn't be functional for us to privatize all the roads. It wouldn't be functional for us to privatize police.
Why not?
What do you mean, why not?
Why not? Like it's interesting to me, to see how terrified people are of the idea of privatizing when the things that they use the most in their lives, like literally an actual, for instance, this thing right here, that is so critical to our well-being and our ability to function and to have a job and to connect with our family. It's not government subsidized. It's competitive and it's cheaper than it was. I mean, I find it. Here's what I find fascinating in all this.
Are you forced to use the cell phone, or do you have a choice?
That's a really good question.
And the question
in this society, can you choose not to have a cell phone?
Yeah, sure you can. And
really, you think so? And have a job?
Again, not necessarily. Again, depends on what your job is, etc. There are a couple of musicians I know of that don't have cell phones at all. They don't have them, specifically for that reason. They're older. They're 50 plus, but they exist.
I mean, you could get a track phone for like $15. I mean,
it's
and that's far more important to our lives than a lot of the things that the government provides.
But can you choose not to use the roads around your house? You can choose not to have a cell phone, but can you choose to not have your... No, how? How would you choose not to have the roads?
If you wanted to, or ride your bike. But
doesn't that constrain your ability to, one, go to the store, get a job, and everything else? I mean, wouldn't it be?
So, but okay. I'm not as concerned about privatizing things. Like there's like this like real deep fear that if we privatize things, all of a sudden it's not going to be provided. And I'm just pointing out that some of the most important things in our lives that we use are privatized. You don't think the government should be subsidizing cell phone service?
But some of the most important things in our lives are not, and that would be roadways, electricity, fire departments,
And how are
police
they doing?
departments.
How are they doing?
Pretty good.
How are the roads? Really?
Pretty good. Yeah.
Really?
And, again, not here in Colorado, but elsewhere, yeah, there are states that absolutely do a good job providing the roads. Yes, we are a bad example, but saying that we are the example that exists elsewhere in the country is not true. We know that from anybody that has driven outside the state recently. There are other states that can do it better. It doesn't mean it fails. It just means they're doing it better.
When I look at this poll and I listen to you, this is what I hear, and I just find it fascinating, okay? Things in Colorado suck. I mean, this poll is very clear at that. You have people that are postponing medical care, dental care, mental health care. Everything costs more. Your roads, your services aren't being provided. The stuff that they try to build, whether it's DIA or 16th Street Mall, takes twice as long, costs twice as much. It's not being run well. This reminds me of the minimum wage argument, where you have restaurants closing in Denver saying we can't operate under this regulatory regime because it just costs so much. There's no benefit anymore. And restaurants closed. Healthcare is not provided well. Roads suck. Schools aren't delivering. And the voters of Colorado go, you know what we need? More government and higher taxes. Let's just go further down this road with the hope that at some point it's going to kick over and things are going to improve. You have more taxes collected than at any point in Colorado's history. You have more spending than at any point in Colorado's history. And the voters themselves in poll after poll say it's not working. So why do we keep going down the same path? That's all I'm raising. That's the concern I have in all this.
To be fair, restaurants are opening as well as closing. And the restaurants...
In Denver?
Yes.
No, they're closing at a higher rate.
Now, again, restaurants are opening and restaurants are closing in Denver. That is a truism. And I understand that the restaurant owners, and I have a heart for them as far as the higher cost of operation. But you know what else would help that? Customers. Because there are restaurants that are facing the same increase in costs as the other restaurants that closed, and they're still open. So there is
it's always somebody else's fault. It's never the government's.
No, I'm talking
about... Just please tax people more, and then things will turn out.
No, see, the issue is that you're willing to lay all the responsibility at the feet of the government. And I'm pointing out that there are other restaurants in those exact same situations that are staying open and are doing just fine. There are other restaurants that are struggling for a number of reasons. Now, some of that does have to do with some of the regulations that happen downtown and in the city of Denver. Yes, some of it, but that's not the entirety of the issue. Because some restaurants are succeeding and some are failing, some are closing, and some are opening every week in the city.
Yeah, I mean, Bill, the stats point out regularly that most of the closings and the closings that are taking place in Denver are at a higher rate than they are in surrounding cities. And restaurant owners have said it's because of the regulatory burden they have to weigh. All right, join the conversation, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. If you're frustrated with the direction of Colorado, why do you keep voting for Democrats? Help me understand this. Join the conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. As you can imagine, text messages are on both sides, which is why we love this show. Some saying, Jeff, you should run for governor. Others saying, Jeff, why don't you leave the state?
Yeah, and others just want me dead. So, yeah. That's always the fun ones, those wishing me death.
Oh, goodness. All right, let's go. Jeez, don't wish Bill death. That's ridiculous.
That happens daily.
Oh, my goodness. He's a valued member of our team, and he's big portions to why both sides listen to the show.
And
so
Jeff's paid to say that.
We appreciate you, Bill. We don't want you dead. All right. Let's figure out a way to take care of that health issue. All right, let's go to Marcus, Aurora. Good morning, Marcus. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Morning. Yeah. You know, I blame a lot of this on the politicians, like most people. If you look at what they've been doing with their money, now this week, they're laying off a lot of city workers, and that's cutting services. But they have money for downtown to renovate it, the bridge to nowhere, Colfax, and the services are getting cut. So it's terrible.
No, it's a set of priorities. I mean, this is really important to understand, folks, that Democrats do prioritize things like taxpayer-funded abortions, taxpayer-funded trans surgeries, wolves. Those are, if they really love it, they'll put money towards it. But jobs, policing, streets, quality education, man, those things become secondary.
Yeah. Do you think these priorities are right? The bridge to nowhere, downtown? There's a lot more important things to do.
Marcus, I just don't understand why people look at this, look at the direction of the state, complain in a poll about politics, complain about the cost of living, and continue to vote for Democrats.
Well, I don't think it's all Democrats, but I vote for what's in it for me. That's why I vote all the time. I look at those propositions and I tell people, go out there and vote. You better check what's going on. And a lot of people, they just wait till the presidential rolls around and that's it.
But Marcus, I think you're 100% right. I think everybody votes in their self-interest. And that's fine. That's the way a democracy is supposed to be.
I think people vote against their self-interest all the time. All the time.
But in their mind, they think they're voting in their best interest. So that's what I'm trying to understand about the current voter in Colorado, that in their self-interest thinks that the Democrat Party is the best to vote for. They pull that lever, and then they complain in a poll about politics and the cost of everything. Like that's what Democrats do. They're big government, and everything, they're going to tax you more. That's what they do.
And on the other side, Marcus, what does that say about the state of messaging and presentation of the Colorado GOP when, given everything that Jeff outlines, people continue to vote for the Democrats? What does that say about their positioning and their messaging?
Well, the GOP, they tick me off because I'm an independent, but I'd like to see two parties for a change. But they never do nothing. They never get a good candidate, and they're so lame.
Oh, Marcus, you got to leave it there. That is fantastic. So way to end it.
Oh, boy. We'll continue.
Job,
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
710 KNUS. Nice job, Marcus.